Right now, today, we look and zoom into the work of private security in the country. And in this segment, we will be looking at the working conditions as well as challenges that are faced by the men and women who are currently employed within this growing sector. And for this discussion, we've roped in Mr. Anele Kiet, who is the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union Deputy Secretary General. Anele, great having you with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. Let's first unpack the work of private security. What does it entail and how does it differ from the work of the SABC?
Security officers are tasked with securing premises for the clients of the private security companies. So therefore, it means that all those workers, they have a responsibility of safeguarding the premises, including the belongings of the clients of the companies that they work for.
Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about the working conditions then that the employers or employees work under and some of the critical challenges that they might face on the day-to-day basis on the job.
Well, security industry is a very vulnerable sector. I've been following the discussions that you had earlier on, and it's a clear indication of what is happening about men and women who are working in that sector. First and foremost, they guard premises, but they themselves, in many of the sites that they are working on, they don't have a place to shelter for themselves because of the condition of the place that they are looking after. Secondly, underpayment. We are working very hard as trade unions to make sure that we improve the conditions of employment in that particular sector, but we are far from what we desire to achieve. And unfortunately, we are guided by the laws of the country on how to negotiate agreements that improve the conditions of employment. But where we are seated, we believe that we have made some strides in making sure that we improve the lives of these workers.
It's quite concerning, Anele. I mean, we understand that some are basically raking in only about 6,000 Rand a month as, of course, as a salary, and a number of employers are not even paying the sector's pension fund or even on time or on behalf of their employees. Let's talk about issues now of provident funding as well as other benefits within the sector. What are you currently observing and also working on to try and change the tide as well as situation in this regard?
Correct. You are correct. At a time when I was a security officer myself, around 2006 up to 2010, the salary of a grade C security officer was 1,900. Today, we are talking about 6,000 rands. That's the work of the trade unions within the industry that they are doing in making sure that they are changing the lives of these workers. However, we admit that is not enough. Looking at the work that they are doing, we believe that they are in the same range as police officers, but although the work that they are doing is not the same. So we are looking at making sure that at least if we are talking about decent salary, at least these workers at some point, they must reach 10,000 salary and above. And so that's the work that we must continue to do as trade unions. That's number one. Number two, these workers are contract based. So if company A is contracted to a municipality or a particular department for 3 years, then the company is expected to comply by deducting provident fund from those workers, by deducting a medical scheme from those workers, by deducting EUIF. Now, workers, they get pay slips, they see these deductions being made by employers, only to find out after the contract has expired that the employer has been deducting the money but not paying it over to the relevant institutions that they are supposed to pay. Hence the relevance of trade union, because at a time when they join trade unions, it becomes our responsibility as unions to make sure that the employers, what they deduct from workers, they pay it to the relevant institutions. So that's the challenge that these employees are having, non-compliant of their bosses by deducting their money but not paying it over to the relevant institution, so that these workers, when the expire of contracts come, they can be able to claim their money and be able to use it whilst they are seeking the next employment.
It's very interesting, Anele, because, I mean, we know that this sector is exclusively, particularly in South Africa, reserved for local citizens to actually work in this in this sector. So what are some of the issues that are actually causing some of these companies to actually not abide by, one, the labor laws, as well as industry related laws, from rates from minimum wage to industry rates to those provisions, and also looking at the plight of women? How are they also affected by these companies seemingly just vetoing any of these laws?
It's not true that majority of the workers who are in this industry are South Africans. Yes, indeed, it's supposed to be like that, but the reality is that our mechanisms, institutional mechanisms to safeguard or protect the industry is not spot on. Because if you go to the Joburg CBD alone, and I think you can attest to that yourself, you will find that security officers are either Zimbabweans, Ghanaians, and so forth. People who don't even have papers to work within the industry in the country. So it's not true that there's compliance on that particular aspect. However, when these workers join the unions, because our hands are limited as a trade union, we interact with workers at a point when they've joined the union, then we have to take care of their needs because they are members of the union. Because the laws restricts you from intervening on issues where in that particular space you don't have members. That's the first point that I wanted to deal with. But when it comes to challenges that affect women in the industry, look, security, we are proud of the strides that we have made in that industry. That's one industry that pays equal work, that gives equal pay for equal work. If a grade C security officer is a female, that female officer is paid the same salary that a male counterpart is being paid. That's number one. Two, as trade unions, we have worked hard to make sure that when it comes to maternity benefits, these employees, they are taken care of. At this current juncture, 34% is paid by the employer, and then 66% is paid by Department of Labor when they go on maternity. However, there are cases whereby you find that these female employees are being victimized by their male counterparts at work. For instance, let me make a typical example. You find a manager is a male, and then a female employee wants to be employed in this particular company. Then there are advances that are being made in order for this employee to be employed in that company. We get such cases, and as trade unions, we are dealing with them. However,
unfortunately,
we are proud on
I
the
have
basis
to leave
that
it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for your contribution this afternoon.